Hi, fourth grade. Your lesson today is on Shurley English Chapter 9, Lesson 4. So open up your textbook to page 281. Look at reference 146, other quotation rules. You can read that to yourself, and then I'm going to explain it on the video. Okay, your first rule is that quotes can be more than one sentence. We've only looked at quotations in the past that have one sentence, but they of course can be more than one sentence. Natalie said, comma, quotation mark, I am playing softball this summer, period. I hope we are on the same team, period, quotation mark. As you notice, there are quotation marks around the whole thing. You don't have separate quotation marks around each sentence. Rule 2, quotes that are more than one sentence can have explanatory words in the middle. I am playing softball this summer. That has quotation marks around it, comma, said Natalie. As you can see, the explanatory words come in between the two sentences. And in that case, you have to have quotation marks around each sentence. So after the explanatory words, you can see that there are new quotation marks around the next sentence. I hope we are on the same team. And then it ends the quotation marks. Next rule, for quotes that are more than one paragraph long, quotation marks are used at the beginning of each paragraph, but ending quotation marks are only used at the very end of the very last paragraph. For example, Matt said, comma, quotation mark, Mom, I am so bored. I don't have anything to do. All of my camps are over. I don't have any friends to play with. Even though that ends the paragraph, we don't put ending quotation marks there. We start a new paragraph and we put in new beginning quotation marks. I have a great idea. I could go to Grandpa's house for the rest of the summer. He could use some help around the house, and I love hearing his old stories. This is the very end of the whole quote, so we have ending quotation marks at the end of the last paragraph. Rule 4, a quote within a quote has single quotation marks around it. My brother said, comma, quotation marks. Did you hear Grandma say, breakfast is ready? There are single quotation marks around that. And actually, there should be a comma right here too. There's always a comma before a quotation. So I'll explain that again. My brother said, comma, regular quotation marks. Did you hear Grandma say, comma, breakfast is ready, single quotation marks because it's a quote within a quote. And then you have your ending punctuation after the single quotation marks, and then you have your final regular quotation marks at the very end. Rule 5, titles of short works, meaning song titles, chapters in books, short stories, poems, have quotation marks around them. This doesn't mean longer works. Longer works like a whole novel or a whole play, they are underlined or in italics, but they don't have quotation marks around them. I can sing several stanzas of America the Beautiful. There are quotation marks around America the Beautiful because it is a song. But it's not an actual quotation of what people are saying, so as you notice, there's no comma before the quotation marks around the song because it's not a direct quotation of what somebody is saying. It's a song title. Rule 6, if you are not directly quoting someone's exact words, you do not use quotation marks. For example, Clint said he wanted a big bag of popcorn. That doesn't have quotation marks around it because it's not an exact quote. We're not going to say, Clint said, quotation marks, he wanted a big bag of popcorn, quotation marks, because that's not a direct quote. Now, if we wanted to have a direct quote here, we could say, Clint said, comma, quotation marks, I want a big bag of popcorn. If that was his direct quote, then you could put quotation marks around it. But if it's not what somebody said, you don't put quotation marks around it. We are going to correct these 3 sentences and then you're going to do your classroom practice for the day. So please pause the video and write down these 3 sentences because I want you to correct it with me. The first one says, I can help Mom with the dishes, Claire said. You can go play outside. As you probably noticed, this quote, or this quote has 2 sentences here and we have explanatory words in the middle. So let's go ahead and correct this sentence by first underlining the explanatory words. And then we have 2 sentences on either side. So let's put in our quotation marks. We have to put in quotation marks around each sentence because we have explanatory words in between the 2 sentences. I can help Mom with the dishes. Put a comma after that first sentence, and then put an ending punctuation, put a period at the end of Claire said, because that's the actual ending of the first sentence. And then put quotation marks around the second sentence. And you can put ending punctuation at the end of that one as well. Of course, always inside the quotation marks. Now we can go ahead and see if there are any other errors here that we need to fix. I can help Mom, capitalize Mom because we're using Mom as a proper noun. I can help Mom with the dishes, comma, quotation marks. Claire, let's capitalize Claire because again, we have a proper noun. Said, period, quotation marks. We need to capitalize the first word inside a quotation mark. You can go play outside, period, quotation marks. All right, we have everything for that first sentence. Let's move on to the next sentence. Kate said, my teacher said, don't forget to do your homework. We have a quote inside a quote here. You should have noticed that. Let's start by underlining our explanatory words. Kate said. Those are our explanatory words. Now let's put quotation marks around the whole quote because the rest is the whole quote. Let's put a comma before it. We always put a comma after our explanatory words if they come at the beginning and before our quotation marks. So now put in your regular quotation marks around the whole thing. And now let's go ahead and fix the rest of the sentence because we know we have a quote inside a quote. Kate said, comma, quotation marks. We need to capitalize the first word inside quotation marks always. Kate said, comma, quotation marks, my teacher said. All right, so here's our quote inside the quote. We have other explanatory words here, but since they're inside the quotation marks, I'm not going to underline them. But I am going to punctuate this like normal. So we're going to put a comma after the explanatory words inside the quote, and then we're going to put single quotation marks around the quote inside the quote because remember that's our rule, and we're going to capitalize the first word inside the single quotation marks. And then we can put in our ending punctuation. For your ending punctuation, it goes after the single quotation marks, but before the regular double quotation marks. So we're going to put the period. That's not right. We're going to put the period right there, right in between. Okay. Now let's go back and see if we have any other errors. Kate said, comma, quotation marks. My teacher said, comma, single quotation marks. Don't, we need an apostrophe. Forget to do your homework. Single quotation mark, period, double quotation marks. All right, we have everything correct for that one. The last one, Great is Thy Faithfulness, is my favorite song. We don't have a direct quote here of somebody saying something. We have a song title. We have to put song titles in quotation marks as well. So let's put quotation marks, just like normal, around our song title, but we don't put a comma or anything after that. It's just a song title. It's not a quotation of what somebody is saying. We do, of course, however, have to capitalize each word in the song title. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness is my favorite song. And we can just go ahead and put a period at the end of our sentence. And everything else in that sentence is correct. All right, now you can go ahead and do your classroom practice. I am going to spend the rest of the time on this video explaining how to do it, so only watch the rest of this video if you need help while doing your classroom practice. Classroom practice 45. Exercise 1, classify each sentence. Number 1, Coach Hall is giving Joe lessons in wrestling after school. Who is giving Joe lessons in wrestling after school? The answer is Coach Hall. So Coach Hall, I know that you might think that Hall is the subject noun and coach is an adjective, but technically coach is a title. Like it's the same thing as saying Mr. Hall or Dr. Hall. So this whole thing, Coach Hall, is the subject noun. So we're going to label the whole thing as a subject noun. What is being said about Coach Hall? What did he do? Giving. We have another noun, or we have another verb here though. We have is right before giving. So that means is must be a helping verb. Coach Hall is giving what? Lessons. If we're answering is giving what, that means it's receiving the action. It's a noun. Let's verify the noun. Does lessons mean the same as Coach Hall? It does not. Therefore, it is the direct object. And that means giving is a verb transitive. Coach Hall is giving lessons to whom? If we're answering to whom, it's probably an indirect object, and it is. It comes right between the verb transitive and the direct object. It's a noun. We know it's an indirect object. The word in is always a preposition. In what? In wrestling, object of the preposition. After is always a preposition. After what? School, object of the preposition. And let's classify our sentence. It is a subject noun, verb transitive, indirect object, direct object, pattern 3. Let's put parentheses around our prepositional phrases. We have a period, statement, declarative sentence. Let's go back to the verb, is giving. Divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. Coach Hall is the complete subject. The rest, that's a terrible slash line there, I'll fix that. Coach Hall is the complete subject. The rest is the complete predicate. Let's go to the next sentence. Did Nelson's dad buy him a horse at the horse sale? Who did buy him a horse at the horse sale? Dad. Dad is the subject noun. What is being said about dad? What's the action? Buy, verb. We have another verb here though. It comes at the very beginning, did. That means it's a helping verb. Dad did buy what? Horse. If he bought the horse, it's receiving the action. It's a noun. Does it mean the same as dad? No, it does not. It's a direct object. That means by is a verb transitive. Dad did buy horse for whom? Him. If we're answering for whom, it's probably an indirect object, and it is. It comes in between the verb transitive and the direct object. The word a is always an article adjective. At is always a preposition. At what? Sail, object of the preposition. What kind of sail? Horse sail. Horse is an adjective. It's describing the sail. The word the is always an article adjective. Whose dad? Nelson's dad. Nelson's, it's a noun, it's possessive, and it's describing, so it's an adjective. So it's a PNA, possessive, noun, adjective. Classify our sentence. Subject, noun, verb transitive, indirect object, direct object, pattern 3. At the horse sale is a prepositional phrase, so let's put parentheses around that. Question mark, question, interrogative sentence. Write INT. Let's go back to the verb, by. Divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. And this is inverted because it's a question, so let's do our underlining. We'll single underline our complete subject, and we'll double underline our complete predicate. All right, we're done with that one. Next sentence. Mr. James read his class a very funny book. Who read his class a very funny book? The answer is Mr. James. Subject, noun. What is being said about Mr. James? What's the action? He read. Mr. James read what? Book. Book is a noun. It's receiving the action. It's being read. Does it mean the same as Mr. James? It does not. It's a direct object. That means read is a verb transitive. Mr. James read book to whom? Class. To whom? It's an indirect object. It comes between the verb transitive and the direct object. What kind of book? Funny book. Funny is a descriptive word, so it's an adjective. How funny? Very. Very is answering how. It's describing an adjective. That means it's an adverb. The word a is always an article adjective. Whose class? His class. We have a pronoun here, and it's showing possession, and it's describing, so it's a possessive pronoun adjective. And let's classify. SN, verb transitive. Indirect object, direct object, pattern 3. We don't have any prepositional phrases. We have a period statement, declarative sentence. Let's divide the complete subject from the complete predicate. Mr. James is the complete subject. The rest is the complete predicate. Skills in editing 1. Exercise 2. Use the editing guide to help correct each mistake. Underline the explanatory words. Okay, this is what we've just been learning. Number 1, I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher in his shop tomorrow, said Scott. When do I need to be there? There are 16 mistakes in this sentence. We know that this has 2 sentences in it, and it has explanatory words in the middle. So in between the 2 sentences. Let's underline our explanatory words, said Scott. And let's put quotation marks around our first sentence. We know we have two sentences here divided by explanatory words. So we need quotation marks around each separate sentence. Capitalize the first word inside the quotation marks. I'll. We know that we also need an apostrophe because this is a contraction for I will. So I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher in his shop. Let's go ahead and correct everything that we see that's wrong because we know that this is just chock full of mistakes. I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher. We need a period in between Mr. Fisher. We need to capitalize Mr. We need to capitalize Fisher, proper noun. In his shop tomorrow, we need a comma because it's the end of the quotation for the first sentence, but it's not the actual end of that sentence. The actual end of that sentence is after the explanatory words. I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher in his shop tomorrow, comma, quotation marks, said Scott, period. Capitalize Scott. It's a proper noun. Put quotation marks around our second sentence. And we're doing that because we had explanatory words in the middle. When we need to capitalize the first word inside quotation marks. When do I need to capitalize the word I? When do I need to be there? This is a question. So we need a question mark right here. The punctuation, of course, goes inside the quotation marks. And let's make sure that we caught everything. All right, let's count them. Oh, I see a mistake here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, we have everything for the first one. Number 2, Scott said, I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher in his shop tomorrow. When do I need to be there? So we have a similar sentence here, but we have explanatory words at the beginning. Underline your explanatory words. Capitalize the first word, which also is a proper noun because it's Scott. Scott said, put a comma after your explanatory words because the explanatory words are coming at the beginning. Put quotation marks around your quote. Capitalize the first word inside the quote. I'll. Again, we need an apostrophe because we have a contraction. Scott said, I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher. Capitalize Mr. Put a period between Mr. Fisher. Capitalize Fisher. I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher in his shop tomorrow. This is the end of a sentence, so we need to put a period at the end. And then we need to capitalize the first word of the next sentence. When do I always capitalize the word I? Need to be there. We need ending punctuation, and this is a question, so we need a question mark. Let's count our mistakes and see if we got everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, we have everything. Number 3 has 14 mistakes. I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher in his shop tomorrow. When do I need to be there? Asked Scott. We have explanatory words at the end this time. Let's underline our explanatory words. Let's put quotation marks around our quotation. Capitalize the first word. I'll needs an apostrophe. I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher. Capitalize Mr. Fisher. Put a period between Mr. and Fisher, just like before. I'll be glad to help Mr. Fisher in his shop tomorrow. Put a period at the end of your sentence. Capitalize the first word of the next sentence. When do I, capitalize the word I, need to be there? Question, question mark. Ask Scott, capitalize the name Scott, proper noun. Put a period at the end. Let's see if we got everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We have everything. All right, now we have one more section to do. Exercise 3, use the editing guide to help correct each mistake. Underline the explanatory words. Number 1, Charles, do you want to eat a snack? Asked Mom. Underline your explanatory words. They come at the end. Put quotation marks around your quote. Charles, do you want to eat a snack? Capitalize the first word inside the quotations. Charles, do you want to eat a snack? We have we're directly addressing Charles. Mom is directly addressing Charles, so we need a comma there. Charles, comma, do you want to eat a snack? We need to put in our ending punctuation, and it is a question, so we need a question mark. Asked Mom. Mom we're using as a proper noun, because we're using it as a name, so we need to capitalize it. We need ending punctuation at the end of our sentence. Let's count our mistakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got them all. Mom asked, do you want to eat a snack, Charles? Explanatory words at the beginning. Put quotation marks around your quote. Since we have explanatory words at the beginning, we need a comma after the explanatory words before the quotation marks. We need to capitalize the first word of our sentence. Mom asked, comma, quotation marks. We need to capitalize the first word inside quotation marks, inside the quote. Do you want to eat a snack? Charles, we're directly addressing Charles. We need a comma before the name Charles since we're directly addressing him. And we need to capitalize the proper noun, Charles. She's asking a question, so we need a question mark as our end punctuation. Let's see if we have everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have everything. Number 3. Brian, the ice is too thin, shouted Kathy loudly. Stay where you are. Don't walk on the ice. We have 2 sentences for our quotation, and they are interrupted with explanatory words. So we need to underline our explanatory words. Shouted Kathy loudly. And then we need to go ahead and put quotation marks around each sentence because they are interrupted by explanatory words. And then we need to capitalize the first word inside the quotation marks. Brian. Brian we are directly addressing, so we need a comma. Brian, the ice is too thin. We need ending punctuation here inside the quotation marks. So we need an exclamation point there. Brian, the ice is too thin, shouted Kathy loudly. Kathy, of course, we need to capitalize. It's a name. And this is the actual end of our sentence after loudly. So we need a period there. And then we start the new sentence. we already put quotation marks around it. We need to capitalize the first word. Stay where you are. Stay where you are is actually its own separate sentence. So we need a period at the end of that sentence, and then we need to capitalize the first word of the next sentence. Don't walk across the ice. Don't is a contraction. We need an apostrophe. Don't walk on the ice. Another exclamation point here, because this is definitely showing strong emotion. And let's count our errors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, we have everything. Now for the last sentence. Kathy shouted loudly, "The ice is too thin. Brian, stay where you are. Don't walk on the ice." We have explanatory words at the beginning this time. Let's put quotation marks around our whole quote. Since we have explanatory words at the beginning, let's put our comma after our explanatory words before the quotation marks. And let's correct everything else. Kathy, capitalize, proper noun. Shouted loudly. Capitalize the first word inside the quotes. The ice is too thin. Brian. We're directly addressing Brian, so we need a comma before his name. We need a period at the end of that sentence, and we need to capitalize the first word of the next sentence. Stay where you are. Let's put a period at the end of that sentence. Capitalize the first word of the next sentence. Don't. Don't is a contraction. Put in your apostrophe. Don't walk on the ice. Ending punctuation. Put in an exclamation point. We're showing strong emotion. Okay, let's count our mistakes. Oh, I should have wrote a C there. Let's count our mistakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. What am I missing? Oh, I need to capitalize Brian. All right, let's count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, we have them all.